I was stirring the pasta when I heard the front door creak open. It was strange, but I didn't think much of it at first. My husband, Jack, was supposed to be at his office until at least 9. 5 hours earlier than expected. The usual hum of the kitchen, the sound of boiling water and the soft sizzle of olive oil in the pan, seemed almost too loud now. My heart skipped when I heard his footsteps behind me. I didn't turn around, hoping maybe I was wrong, but I knew his stride anywhere. I could feel his presence before he even spoke. He didn't say anything, just stood there watching me. I turned slowly and there he was, his face drawn tight, eyes empty, not a single word coming from his lips. This wasn't the man who'd left this morning, all smiles and quick jokes before heading out the door. His gaze wasn't soft, it wasn't warm. It was like there was something heavy, something unsaid hanging between us. The silence stretched out longer than I could bear. That's when my phone buzzed, breaking the tension. It was a message from my best friend. "You have no idea what I just found out." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. What was happening? Why was he home so early? Why was she texting me like this? The questions piled up, but the answers were nowhere to be found. I stand there, frozen, staring at Jack as his eyes seem to pierce right through me. My mind is racing, heart pounding in my chest, but I can't seem to move. Why is he home so early? Why did he leave his office, and why is his expression so cold, so distant? My hand trembles as I clutch the phone, the screen glaring at me, but the words on it don't make any sense. "You have no idea what I just found out." My best friend's message keeps repeating in my mind. What could she have found out? Why no? The weight of uncertainty presses on me like a lead blanket, and the room feels suffocating. The sound of the boiling water on the stove no longer comforts me. It only adds to the noise in my head. I force a smile, pretending everything's fine, trying to mask the fear clawing at me. But inside something is twisting, something sharp and cold. I try to shake it off, but the doubt has already settled in. What would you do if you were me? I ask myself, but I already know there's no easy answer. The silence between us is deafening, and I can feel the tension hanging in the air like a storm cloud. Jack hasn't said a word since he came in, and it's only making everything feel more off. There were no fights this morning, no harsh words before he left, no reason for him to be like this. But his eyes, they're telling me something I don't want to believe. I can't help myself. I pick up his phone, my fingers shaking as I scroll through his messages, my heart thumping louder with each passing second. But before I can get far, I hear his footsteps behind me, too close, and I freeze. He's right there. His face is inches from mine. "You're hiding something from me, aren't you?" I ask, my voice trembling despite myself. He doesn't answer. Instead, he reaches out, pulling me to him, and kisses me. The kiss is slow, gentle, too soft for the storm I feel inside. Is it a gesture of comfort or guilt? I don't know. My thoughts blur and I can't pull away. I should. I want to, but I don't. And in that moment I realize, I didn't know that kiss would be my last mistake. As the evening drags on, the knot in my stomach tightens. The kiss lingers in my mind, but now there's something else, something deeper. Jack isn't just hiding an affair. He's hiding a whole life from me, and the more I think about it, the more it feels like everything I knew is a lie. My hands tremble as I dial my best friend's number, hoping to make sense of this confusion. When she answers, her voice is too quick, too rehearsed. "I don't know anything really," she says, but I can hear the edge in her tone. He sounds nervous and I wonder why. I tell myself she's just trying to reassure me, but there's a nagging feeling creeping up my spine. Something about her words doesn't sit right with me. I push for more answers, but she changes the subject too easily, too smoothly. Her response doesn't match the urgency I'm feeling, and now I'm questioning everything. I don't want to believe it, but the more I think about it, the more I realize, I don't know her as well as I thought. And that scares me more than anything else. The weight of everything feels unbearable now, and I can't keep it inside any longer. I need someone to confide in, someone who can tell me I'm overreacting, that I'm just being paranoid. I call my best friend and ask if she wants to meet for a drink. She agrees immediately, but her voice sounds distant, almost like she's been expecting this. We sit down at a quiet bar, the low hum of chatter around us blending with the clink of glass. As the wine flows, I finally let it all out. The messages, the weird behavior, the feeling that Jack is hiding something. She listens intently, but her eyes are hard to read. There's something strange in her expression, something that doesn't match her words. Before I can say another word, she leans in and her lips are suddenly soft, hesitant but undeniably there. The world shifts and for a moment, everything fades. I pull back, my heart pounding in confusion. This isn't what I expected, not in a million years. I thought I was just seeking comfort, but now I realize I've stepped into something far more complicated than I ever imagined. The weight of the truth is starting to crush me, and I can't shake the feeling that everything is spiraling out of control. I need answers, but they seem to be slipping further from my grasp with each passing second. I meet with the family friend, the one who's always been there for us, the one who should know something, anything to help me make sense of this mess. I tell him everything, the strange behavior, the hidden life, my best friend's kiss. His face tightens as I speak, but he doesn't interrupt. The silence between us grows thicker, more suffocating until he finally speaks. "You're not ready to hear the truth," he says, his voice low and almost pitying. His words hit me like a slap, and for a moment I don't know whether to cry or scream. He doesn't elaborate, just stares at me, leaving me in the dark. Confusion settles in like a fog and I can feel the ground slipping beneath me. I'm not sure what's worse, the secrets everyone is keeping or the fact that I'm the last to know. It hits me like a cold wave. I'm not part of this story. I'm just the pawn and everyone around me is playing their own game. I walk into Jack's office, my heart pounding in my chest, unsure of what to expect. He's sitting behind his desk, looking as calm as ever, the usual composure on his face, but there's something in his eyes that's different. Something that makes the air between us heavy, thick with unspoken words. He doesn't stand to greet me, just gestures to the chair across from him. "We need to talk," he says, his voice steady, but there's a finality to it, like he already knows everything. The way he looks at me, like he's already made up his mind, sends a chill down my spine. My mouth goes dry as I sit down, the weight of everything hanging between us. I open my mouth to speak, but the words die in my throat, suffocated by the tension. Just then the door creaks open and to my horror my best friend steps into the room. Her eyes are wide with fear, her face pale as if she's been caught in something she didn't expect. She doesn't say a word, but the panic in her expression is enough to send 1,000 new questions racing through my mind. What is going on? What does she know that I don't? It had started innocently enough. One evening my stepson asked for help with his belt. He'd been struggling with it, the buckle caught, his pants slipping dangerously low. I agreed, stepping closer to adjust it. My hands worked automatically, but something shifted in the air between us. The closeness felt different, charged. He shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact, his hands twitching slightly. It was a small, almost invisible moment, but I could feel it and I knew he felt it too. From that night on it became a routine. Every evening he found some excuse to ask for my help. It started with innocent requests, fixing a collar, untangling a knot, but it grew slowly, almost imperceptibly. A brush of hands here, a lingering look there. Each time the tension thickened. Neither of us spoke of it, but it was there, undeniable, growing every day. It wasn't just physical proximity anymore. It was something deeper. Then one evening the conversation turned heavy, and as I voiced my suspicions, he calmly placed a folder on the table. The weight of the moment hit me. Inside were photos, messages, evidence I couldn't deny. He knew everything. He'd been watching. Without a word he stared at me, then finally spoke. "You thought I didn't see? We're both guilty of this." My world crashed down around me. The weight of the truth had been hanging over me for days, but nothing could prepare me for what my best friend said. We sat in the quiet of my kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound breaking the silence. She stared at her hands, refusing to meet my eyes as I poured us both a drink, my heart racing. Finally, after a long pause, she spoke. "I knew," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I knew everything that was going on. I couldn't keep pretending." The words hit me like a punch to the gut, leaving me gasping for air. How could she? How could she have kept this from me, knowing everything? She looked up at me then, her face filled with regret. "I can't be part of this anymore," she continued, her tone flat, like she was already distancing herself. "It's time for you to make a choice, but I can't tell you what to do." The decision felt impossible. What was I supposed to do with my marriage with her? Could I even trust anyone anymore? My mind was a storm, spinning out of control. The world I thought I knew was shattered, and I was standing at a crossroads, not knowing which path to take. The moment he packed his bags, The reality of everything hit me like a wave and I couldn't breathe. Jack didn't say where he was going, didn't offer any kind of explanation, just walked out the door without a single glance back. I stood frozen, the silence deafening in its finality. I kept waiting for him to turn around to say something, anything, but nothing came. The door clicked shut behind him and that was it. It felt as if the last piece of my world had fallen away. My best friend too couldn't bear to stay. After her confession she said she needed time and just like that she left. She didn't even look back as she closed the door, and I was left alone in this vast empty house. It felt cold, hollow, as if every part of me had been drained. I tried to piece together where everything went wrong, but the answers were elusive, just out of reach. One thing was clear though, everything was destroyed and there was no going back. I didn't know if I could ever put the pieces together again. Sometimes we are the cause of our own downfall, I thought, my heart sinking, and I don't know how long I'll be able to live with this.